In this video, we're going to go over Newton's first law of motion. So Newton's first law of motion is also called, sometimes you might hear, the law of inertia. And I'll get into that in a little bit. But basically what this law says is that if the net force, so F net on something, is equal to 0, so after adding all the forces up, if that is equal to 0, then this becomes true. An object at rest will stay at rest, and an object in motion will maintain a constant velocity. So if we kind of think about this conceptually here, obviously if an object at rest, it's going to stay there unless acted upon by another force. So we go ahead and add that last part, except if acted on by an external force. So if there's another force that is pushing our object or whatever it may be, then that force is going to change the motion of our object. So if we think about this conceptually, let's say we have some sort of box here on the floor. If it's at rest, it's going to stay at rest, which is a constant velocity of 0. If there's no external forces acting on it, it's equal to 0. It's going to stay like this. And so let's say also the next part, we push this with a force to give it a constant velocity. According to this law, it says that the box will maintain a constant velocity unless acted upon by something else. So maybe something else might be friction or someone pushing the box back. So that's another external force that's going to stop its constant velocity. But let's say if we had a frictionless surface, it would continue. Let's say we pushed it this way. After we've given it the force, it's going to maintain a constant velocity, and unless acted upon by something else, it will continue to go in that direction. And so if we think about the equation for force real quick, force is equal to mass times acceleration. Because we're at a constant velocity, there is no acceleration, so therefore no net force, and that's why this makes sense. A box in motion will continue to move in motion with no external forces on it. And so going back to this concept of inertia real quick, inertia is kind of described as like the tendency of an object to maintain its motion. So inertia is essentially related to mass. If we can think about maybe a train, so let's say we have a car or something pretty heavy, inertia being related to basically mass and size. If it continues to go that way, it's going to be pretty hard to stop. Like if you imagine getting in front of a car versus something like much smaller. Let's say this is a toy car. We can more easily stop a toy car than a real car, according to the laws of inertia, because that's the tendency of an object to maintain its motion relating to its mass. So it's much easier to stop something smaller and less with less mass than something with more mass. And so this is basically Newton's first law of motion.